polluted from the springs. By the time it gets out there to the Gulf, it ain't strong enough to kill nothing. Oh, I says, the grass is dying, what's doing it then?
Yeah.
If it ain't the poison. I can go out here right now where that water flows out across the river and out across some of these little bays and coves and stuff. And where it used to be solid grass, it's nothing now but solid sand bottom.
That's
Ain't
no
a
good.
bit of grass growing.
That's bad.
Something killed it.
Yeah, it sure did.
I believe it was their poison.
Now-
It didn't kill the grass up in here, and it didn't kill the grass way on out there. Just right where it flowed out across the river.
That it makes perfect sense. So, but now there's something I wanted to do yesterday, and we ended up having to save Dale from his car. So I have something I wanted to ask. Yesterday I turned 60. You're the only adult person that I know who was there who can tell me about the day I was born. Tell me what you
60.
remember. Tell me what you remember from that day.
When I turned 60,
No, when I was a baby born. Tell me about the day I was born that you remember.
the only thing I can remember about the day you was born was that wild ass ride to the hospital for you to be born.
So tell me about it.
Your mother wouldn't go to the hospital. Oh, I want to get the dishes done. I want to take the laundry out of the laundry and put it in the dryer. I said, that baby's coming. We got to go. No, I'm cleaning this. She wouldn't go. So I finally got her in the car. Man, I'm headed to the hospital. Well, I'm speeding. I'm going too fast, and a cop pulls me over. This woman's having a baby. I'm trying to get her to the hospital. At that time, Winter Haven Hospital was just one little bitty hospital there in Winter Haven. And y'all pulled into the emergency part, and these people was right there with the wheelchairs. She's having a baby. You need to get her in there quick. Who's the pediatrician? I even forgot who it was now. But anyhow, they put her in a wheelchair and rolled her in, and one of the nurses said, okay, go up there to the front and check her in. You've got to have her checked in. I went up to the front, told them what was going on. We went to the emergency room. They put her in a wheelchair and gone back to where they deliver babies. The time I filled out all the paperwork or answered all the questions and stuff, come back around to where the babies was, they had it. It had been delivered that quick.
Yeah.
There it is. Now that's what I remember about the day you were born.
And back then, you didn't do tests, so people didn't know if they were having a boy or a girl.
No.
You didn't
I
know.
had no way of knowing, no.
So how did I get my name? Where did Mitzi Lee Yates come from?
Mitzi? Your mother had a reason. It's somewhere in the gene line somewhere.
Okay. Well,
Something Mitzi, somewhere.
well, where did the Lee come from?
That's in the gene line too somewhere.
Okay. For some reason, I always thought I was named after a cat. I couldn't tell you why.
No, it's some relative, some far-off relative, grandma, somebody, something.
Okay. Now, was Grandma Jessie working at Winter Haven Hospital when I was born?
No,
She wasn't.
no.
Okay. Because I remember
It was after you was born that she became a nurse and went to work there.
I do remember, I was old enough to remember getting my tonsils out, and you wake up and your throat is
but
sore.
you were a big kid by then.
Well, 3 or 4, big
Well.
enough to remember, but not a baby. And she worked there because
Yeah.
Grandma was there.
Yeah. She got her license, LPN, licensed practical nurse. She wasn't a registered nurse.
Correct. Did Grandma work outside the home when you were a kid?
No, she worked in pediatrics in the hospital. And then after pediatrics, she went to what old people, whatever that was.
Yeah.
And when she retired, that's what she was doing.
Okay. But when you and Dennis and Richard were kids, she stayed at home.
Oh yeah. Mom never worked. Well, no, that ain't true. before Richard was born, but me and Dennis was born, she worked at Robert Brothers Canning Plant.
And
Because
what?
we live in Eloise. Have you ever been to Eloise?
Not sure that I have.
Well, there's a main road, paved road, that went into the canning plant. And then they had all these little side roads that were just dirt roads with these what we call cracker box houses, little wooden houses.
Yeah.
That they rented, the company owned them, and they rented them to the migrant workers. There were migrant workers that come in during the citrus time, worked in the canning plant, but the canning plant rented the little houses that they stayed in.
Okay. Now I remember we didn't move to Tennessee till 1972, and I was 7. But Mama worked at some kind of canning factory, didn't she? At one point.
Was it what?
Didn't Mama work in a canning?
Yeah, yeah. Your mama did work at the canning plant for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, not long, but less than a year, I think.
Yeah, but I can. It was while I was old enough. You know, I got big enough.
Yeah.
And stuff. So
She could have got better jobs. I don't know why she worked at the canning. I think she had some friends that talked her into it. They worked there.
yeah, I do remember Mama's talking about she sectioned fruit, whatever that meant.
Right. Mainly, if you go to the grocery store and you see canned oranges, grapefruit, and all that stuff, that's what they did. What they do is they cut all the skin off, and it's cooked. All the fruit is cooked. It comes down a conveyor belt, and they take them fruit off, and then they got a knife that goes in there and flips them little sections out. And you flip them out into cans. When you get cans up, you rack them up in these cartons, and when you get a carton up, you ring this little bell, and the lady walks up and down with your name and punches another button. I think because you get paid by the case, you know.
Okay.
I remember when Mama worked there, when I was just a little kid. I used to walk, because it was just a few blocks down from my house to the canning plant. I used to walk down there when she'd get off work to come home. Well, I went down there one time and they were canning vegetables, tomatoes at this time. But they canned all kind of stuff. All these name brands with Del Monte and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. They had their own called Big R for Robert Brothers. Mm-hmm. And all the vegetables that come down them belts and all is all the same. The only difference was the label they put on the can. But what really got me turned off on canned vegetables is I went down there to walk with Mama home one time, and they were still running, but it was about time to quit. And belts, V-belts like that, full of vegetables, fruit, tomatoes, and beans, run down, dumps on another belt, and it runs up and goes in the machine, do all kind of canning stuff.
Yeah.
One of them belts broke. And all them tomatoes are piling up down at the end of that thing where it normally piles on the butt. I mean, there's tomatoes that deep down there, 10-foot diameter.
Yeah.
All right. When they got the belts all back running again, not the one that dumps it, but the ones that takes it out.
Yeah.
Guys come down there with shovels, like a snow shovel, not like a dirt shovel. And they shoveled all that stuff up that was on the floor and piled it back up on the belt.
Oh, jeez.
I said, where's that going? It's going up there to be canned in them cans.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Good Lord knows
I
what
don't
else
want
was
no more
in
canned
it.
vegetables.
Yeah.
They shoveled it right off of the dirt floor.
Yeah. And who knows what, little critters and who knows what. Bugs and Lord knows. Yeah.
There is laws, FDA has laws that has percentage of stuff allowed in the fruit.
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the list?
I haven't.
Go look at it. You don't want to eat it anymore. I'm kidding. There lies so many rats, so many spiders, so many grasshoppers, so many rat dung, so many. It is allowed.
Yeah.
It's this.
The thing is, it would have so. I mean, it'd be impossible to be completely, you know,
Well,
in realistic farming.
Right.
You know, it just
when stuff is mass produced, it gets bugs and stuff in it.
it
Yeah.
does. It most certainly does. So.
The first
Did
time
you-
I ever opened a can of something, oh, and it's got bugs in it. That's it, buddy. I ain't eating that.
So what I remember of the different kind of jobs that you had before you were at the instrument plant, but before you did that kind of work,
I worked
you worked
at
at
Ace
Ace
Hardware.
Hardware.
That's
So
right.
what did you do at Ace
I
Hardware?
managed a division of Ace Hardware.
The whole store?
Not the whole store, just one section of the store.
So what was your specialty?
I ordered the stuff, got it in, put it back on the shelf.
Which department?
The what?
What department?
Oh, tools and sporting goods, because that's what I was more knowledgeable in.
Okay. And
Because
how?
I've been working with Daddy Carpenter all life, and of course we've been fishing all our lives too.
Yeah.
So tools and sporting goods was fit right in for me.
How long did you work with Ace Hardware?
7 years.
And before Ace Hardware, what did you do?
Worked with my daddy,
Okay.
building houses.
So when you got married to Mama and had Steve
I
and
was
Lori.
still working with Daddy, building
okay.
houses.
Okay, and then you went to work for Ace Hardware.
But I started working with Daddy building houses when I was just a little kid, teenager. But when we'd work with Daddy, then I never got paid. I got an allowance. He'd give me some money every now and then, but I wasn't on the time card and I didn't get paid a regular pay. But once I got married, then I went on a time card, and just like any other employee, I got paid then.
Okay.
But that was after I got married.
Okay.
But I worked with Daddy from little kid on up. I went and worked at Ace Hardware. Then I went to the mines. I went to the mines, phosphate mines, as a laborer, the very lowest paid person there was in there. And for about 2 years, I worked as a laborer. But I also watched all the jobs. They got dozens and dozens of jobs, more complicated. You get paid more money. The highest paid people in there was electricians.
Uh-huh.
So I looked at her, I'm the lowest paid. These guys are the highest paid. I'm going back to school. That's what I want to do. So I went back I went to college and stayed for 1 semester. And I found out they wasn't teaching me what I needed to learn. So I quit and went to a trade school. It's where they teach us building stuff and electronics and electric. I went to trade school for 2 years. And when I finished that, there's one other thing about when I went to trade school. I was a laborer working at the lowest job in the mines, the phosphate mines. And I went up to the management and told them, I said, look, I'm going to trade school now, so I can't work any overtime. You went to work at morning 7 to 5, 7 to 3. At 3 o'clock, I can't stay. If something broke down, usually guys stay over and fix it on overtime. I said, I can't do that. I've got to go to school. They said, oh, you're going to school, learn to be an electrician? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got this policy. We'll pay your tuition and all your books if you graduate and become an electrician. So that's what I did. When I finally graduated in 2 years from trade school, I kept all the receipts and everything that I'd paid, and they reimbursed me for all my books and all my tuition to go to school when I got my job as an electrician. So I went from the lowest paid job to the highest paid job in one jump.
All right. So how long did you work as an electrician with the phosphate
I
mine?
worked 7 years as an electrician in the mines.
So why did you leave that job?
Well, they had an ad in the paper. See, electrical job in plants ain't just one. There's all kind of stuff. There's people that install new installation. There's people that maintain motors, heavy stuff. And then there's people that maintain instruments and controls. Well, I got interested in instruments and controls because it was highly technical. This other was old bull work, heavy grunt work, we call it. But this over here was highly specialized stuff. And it paid the same thing. Plus the fact that if a piece ever broke down, they couldn't call these grunt workers, we call them. They had to call the specialized guy that knew how to take care of it. So I kind of drifted to that section. It was all in the same category, but it was in sections. So I got interested in instruments. Now, when you get interested in instruments, these companies that sell all these instruments to this plant puts out seminars every now and then. It'll be a month or 2 month seminar. So instead of going to work, I'd go to the seminar because stuff changes all the time. When I first come out, there were no computers, for an example. Everything was done with hydraulics or water, there was just no electronic stuff. But as time went on, they shifted into hydraulics controllers and stuff, valves that had controllers on them, and hydraulic fluid went in there and run the valves up and down. And then later they all switched to electronics, which then could be tied to computers. Every time it changes, you have to go back to school. So that's what I was telling, what's her name? It was here the other day.
Lori's friend?
Yeah. Her boys was wanting to, know about going to school.
You mean Jessica?
Jessica.
She had her sons with
Right.
us. Okay.
And I told her, I said, well, they need to go back to school, and if they want to specialize in something, get a trade school and specialize in that. But don't think just because you get out of school, you'll never go back again. That ain't true. You'll be going back for seminars from now on because technology keeps moving, it keeps evolving.
Yeah.
And you just keep having to go back.
So how did we get to Tennessee?
All right. I was working at the mines, and they put in an ad in the local Tampa Tribune for an instrument technician. That's what I specialized in. The price wasn't double what I was making, but it was like 50% increase in it.
Yeah.
So I called them up and talked to them.
Yeah.
The ad was to go to Tampa for the interview. They had a cement plant in Tampa. So I drove to Tampa, went to the cement plant and talked to them. And at that time, it was a humongous big increase in salary. And they had a medical plan that was 100% financed. You had to pay nothing, absolutely. It didn't matter. And by now, I got 3 kids, and when you got 5 in a family, you got doctor bills, all kind of stuff. It covered everything, eyeglasses, dental, everything, 100% paid for. So they flew, I took all their tests and everything, and they liked it. So they called me up one day and they said, come down, let us have our final talk. We think you got the job. So I went back to Tampa, and we sat around the table and talked everything. Said, yeah, everything looks good, but the job's not here. I said, what do you mean the job's not here? The job is in our plant in Tennessee. What? I don't know about going to Tennessee. My family and all is here. They said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll fly you to Tennessee, rent you an apartment there. You can stay a week up there, go out to the plant, meet everybody, look it all over and see what you think.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. They flew me to Tennessee, rented a room in I don't remember the name of the hotel now, but I stayed a week up there, went out to the plant every day, went through it, talked to all the people and everything. And Tennessee was the time of the year when Tennessee was pretty. I mean, dogwoods are in bloom, green, beautiful everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
So I come back home and told Sharon, that's one of the prettiest places I've ever seen up there. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
So she said, okay, call them and tell them you'll take the job. So I called back to Tampa, told them I'd take the job. We put the house on the market for sale, and now I got a big U-Haul trailer, and we loaded all of our stuff in the U-Haul
I
trailer.
remember.
And
So
headed
tell us
to
about the moving to Tennessee. Took 3 days, didn't it?
Yep.
Tell me about that. I was there. I can remember.
Yep.
But it's worth
Took 3
hearing.
days to drive from here to Pale.
Yeah.
Well,
Tell us about
when
the
you got
trip.
kids, you got to stop and
Oh, I know. I've got
eat
you.
restaurants, and you got to stop at motels for the night and all that stuff. And then Sharon was in the car, I was in the truck. She was pulling a boat, and she got lost in
No cell phones.
Atlanta. Oh my God. Now I had to find her, spend the night in Atlanta, and then on into Chattanooga. So she's right, it took us 3 days to get there.
It
How,
sure
how
did.
long did it take you to find her? How long did it take you to find Nana? Sharon?
To fly from here to
No,
there?
no. How long did it take you to find Nana in Atlanta?
Oh, well, actually, what it did, it was getting late, almost dark, and there's a Holiday Inn out on the north side of Atlanta, and I'd already been back around Atlanta 2 or 3 times. The cops had even pulled me over. What the heck is your problem, buddy? I said, I'm looking for my wife. She lost out here somewhere. Well, if we hear anything, we'll let you know. So it was getting late, and I knew that we was going to have to find a room somewhere and look for her tomorrow. So I pulled into the Holiday Inn up on the north side of Atlanta, went in there and registered, and told them my story about how my wife had got lost somewhere in Atlanta and we can't find her. And we had made reservations for the Holiday Inn in Chattanooga. I says, is there any way you can call or contact Holiday Inn in Chattanooga and see if by chance she went on to Chattanooga? So they called up there and said, no, nobody in Chattanooga by the name of Sharon Yates or Yateses had anything to do, but said downtown in Atlanta, there's a lady down there saying she's lost, and her name's Sharon Yates. So I got back in the truck, went down to the Holiday Inn down there. Sure enough, there she and Steve was in the car. There they were. So they followed me back, and we all went back up to the one on the north. That's where we stayed. But I guess killed a half a day doing all that.
Me and Lori were with Dad in the big truck. Steve
Yeah.
was with Mama.
Was she out?
Carrying the
how
boat
was
with the
she
dog
doing
in it.
down there?
Well, if you've ever been through big cities,
Yeah.
you get in the city lane, but if you get on the right or left, pretty soon you must turn. You know?
Right.
And she got in one of them must turn lanes and had to exit off.
And she had the dog in the boat. Yeah, I remember that because that dog Muttley chewed
Yeah.
because it got hot. And
Her
it
and
was,
Steve was the,
yeah,
two
but they
people.
had the dog with them.
yeah. But once I found her, then we left the Holiday Inn down, right in the middle of downtown Atlanta and went out up on the north side and we all stayed there.
Yeah. Yeah,
We had a cat and a dog.
we did. And then we lost the cat. Cat ran away.
And I think that Holiday Inn's where we lost the cat. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure. It didn't make it to Tennessee.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
No.
I was 7, but yeah.
They had a pen for dogs and cats outside
Yeah.
the hotel.
Yeah.
And we come the next morning to get ready to leave. Dogs were there, the cat was gone.
Yeah. And then when we got there to Tennessee, it took a couple of days, but you found that duplex we rented.
Do you know how long that was ago?
1972.
40-something years ago.
More than that. A lot more than that. I'm 60 and I was 7, so that was 53 years.
About 50 years ago. Then.
53. Because I was 7.
That was a long time
Yes,
ago.
it was. And Atlanta, trust me, is both Atlanta and Chattanooga is a lot
Do
different.
you
now.
remember this? after we got everything all back together and started down I-4 toward Chattanooga, it ended.
I-75.
I-75
It didn't go all the
ended.
way through.
That's right. We had to get off and get on the little side road. Do you remember that?
Yeah. And they didn't finish that until a
No,
long
it was
time.
a good many years later before they finished through those mountains, yeah.
Yeah, it did. So, and then those first few years, you know, we rented for 1 year, and then you bought your first Tennessee house. So,
Yep. We rented that duplex and then bought that house up on
Hillcrest,
Hillcrest, right.
1044 Hillcrest
And then
Road.
sold that house and built the one on Hidden Harbor.
It is, but some of that rock work that you did is still there. If you drive past it to this day, it is still there.
We had a little trailer put behind my car, went down to the creek and pick up stones and put them in that trailer.
Yeah, Soddy Daisy Creek.
And Soddy Daisy Creek. And then come back to the house and I'd mix up cement and rack them up.
You know, they don't let you do that anymore. They hadn't let you done it in a long time, but in the 70s you could.
Yeah?
Yeah, they've got it. You can't do that anymore, but there's a company that has the right to go in there so they can sell it.
No kidding.
Yeah, but regular people can't go get mountain rock anymore.
Really?
All
Yeah.
the kids were just little bitty kids.
Oh,
But
I
what they did,
remember.
they went around and picked up little stones.
Oh, I remember Dad used to haul us to Lord.
Every weekend.
Hot, you bet.
We don't want to go pick up stones this weekend.
Oh, it was hot. No. In hindsight, as an adult, I suspect it was give Nana a break from kids.
I picked up the big ones, they picked up the little ones.
And he used to mix the cement in a wheelbarrow. He used to mix it up, slab it down, and he built it. It's still there.
But you take a stone, them creek stones, they're perfectly smooth. They not be a ball, they're usually sort of oblong like. But when you set it on top of a wall to build a wall up, you have to take little ones and stick it around in it to hold it up.
Limp fine.
And that's what they did. They got the little one. They'd take a little bucket, walk around, get the little one, dump them in the car.
It was. And we were there for 4 years because I was in junior high school when we finally moved to Hidden Harbor in 1978.
But I remember y'all kids didn't like it. Well, I want to pick up stones this weekend, Daddy. No, no, no.
Yeah. Well, the baby is now 60.
It's illegal now. They got signs up there. You can't pick up creek stones out of any creek.
That's
Tennessee.
right. That's right.
They changed the
You can't
law.
do it. All right. Well, I'm going to end the video here.